What's up, G Show Land, and welcome to another episode of the G Show podcast. This is The Force Awakenings. That's right, it's our Star Wars podcast, and we haven't done this in a very long time, but we're back because Star Wars Celebration, kicked off this weekend and dropped a shit ton of nuggets, bunch of fun stuff. I am here with G95, and we're going to get right into Star Wars. I know, yeah. Godzilla. No, this is the Star Wars podcast. So stick around, hang out with us, learn some Star Wars stuff, and enjoy. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to go to you, G95, because I know you've got something before we get into Celebration. I know you got something you want to talk about as far as Rebels Season 2 is concerned, because I believe on our last podcast where we left off is you had not finished the season yet.
I had not.
And now you have.
I have.
And it's a good thing because it's been about 4 months. So go ahead, man. What were your thoughts on the season as a whole? How did you feel at the end of the season? And, let it rip.
Well, I guess I could start by just talking about the series as a whole. I started watching Rebels immediately after finishing Clone Wars. And I watched a couple episodes and I was like, this isn't so great. And then kind of kept going, and I was like, all right, well, I'll get through it because I know like some key players eventually start to show up. And it's a little cartoony. The first season was a little shaky. The filler episodes are painful to get through at times. But when they get into the story, oh god, it gets so good. It gets so deep and perfect, especially the season 2 ending. It was fucking magnificent.
One of the best endings for a cartoon season I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, definitely. The only thing about that finale that I thought was a little silly was the whole lightsaber helicopter thing that the Inquisitors do. It's a little dumb, but
we'll get into that when we get there because I have some theories on that. But go ahead.
But oh god, the battle between the showdown between Ahsoka and Darth Vader, Darth Maul, just like the Sith holocron, the Sith temple. Oh my god, it's so good.
It really was, man. I'll tell you, I woke up that morning, nobody was in my house. I didn't have to go to work until later in the afternoon, and I was like, the finale happened yesterday. I've got 2 episodes. I sat in bed, man. I watched it, and by the end of the episode, like I was at the foot of my bed, like pretty much making out with the television. I loved every minute of it. The Inquisitors doing their little helicopter thing. I chalk that up to them also using the Force, because think about the Force jumps from like the prequels, or even in the original trilogy, Luke Skywalker doing a backwards flip up onto the platform in Return of the Jedi while fighting Vader. So I think the Force has a lot to do with that, slowing momentum down and shit, while using the, granted, the blades, they shouldn't be able to do that because they're light blades, but it's solid light. So I guess there's something cutting through the air.
It's just kind of silly. It's a silly visual.
I don't know. I felt a couple of times, I think, especially in long pulled back shots, when them like gliding, I thought it was really cool shots because you get to see like this immensity of this Sith temple. And I was like, wow, man. It's so huge. It's like a canyon, and I liked it. But that aside, I thought they were vicious, and I'll tell you, man, the way they went out, like Darth Maul was no joke. Like he went in and took care of business, and it was like, this is the Darth Maul we all fell in love with. And those last 15 minutes, of course, I'm picking up a faint signal. Hang on a second. Okay. All right, sorry about that. I should totally shut my phone off. Darth Maul was totally what we wanted in Clone Wars. In Clone Wars, Maul came back and did what he had to do. But the way they left it is such a cliffhanger, and they never got around to. I think they told the story in book format, but what we're seeing in Rebels, man, bringing them back and setting them in that universe that we know, okay, A New Hope is right around the corner, and Darth Maul's still alive. Holy crap, that's crazy. And then just showing that, yeah, he may look old and tired and beat up and withered, but he is still like the ass kicker, and he definitely kicked some Sith ass. So
I don't even think he looked that old. I mean, it just seems weird. Like he was really young when we saw him in Phantom Menace. He seemed like, I don't know. I don't know much about his race or how long they live and stuff, but he was definitely like sort of young. Not like, I guess if you could equate it to human years, like in his 20s or something like that.
right,
Mid to late 20s, and then we see him like 13 years later, or 13 to 15 years later, in Clone Wars, and that's still pretty young. That's like, if we're equating it to human years, that's like he'd be 40 at the very, very most.
right,
And then jump ahead another like 12 years, he's like middle aged.
right. Well,
So that's,
and what I mean by, like, in the episode when you first meet him,
mhm.
he looks old and decrepit and,
Mhm.
and pale. I love what they did with the color, as you've seen as the episode progressed. His color coming back to him.
Yeah.
The red starts showing more, because when you first see him, he looks gray,
Mhm.
almost like he's at the end of his lifespan. And then just I love the idea of him like feeding off of Ezra.
Mhm.
His youth. I don't mean like in a vampiric sense, but just being there and manipulating Ezra, bringing him back. Like, okay, this is my vessel back, and this is my way back.
Mhm.
But then handling the business with the Inquisitors. I mean, dude, when he took out Buffy. Oh, that was just amazing, man. And I say Buffy, I mean Sarah Michelle Gellar, for the people not in the know. She played one of the Inquisitors. She was the sister. Oh, man.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, that was her. Yes, it was. So that
Makes
was...
that Inquisitor even more awesome.
I know. So that was pretty badass. I loved Kanan getting blinded, but, of course, the only thing that mattered in that 2 hours, or that hour, I should say, was Vader versus Ahsoka.
Oh, absolutely.
It was the only thing that mattered. I'll listen, man. I'm not above myself where I could say with 100% honesty, there were tears in my grown man eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
Tears. I was nervous. I was scared. I was happy. I was all of these emotions at once, because it was the Padawan versus the Master, and Ahsoka was a badass. She was like, she knew her stuff, but this isn't Anakin. This is Vader, and this is a Vader who is pretty pissed off.
Yeah, this is basically Vader in his prime.
Yes, and to see them going at it and the way it went down, and oh man, just perfect stuff altogether. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
That moment when she cracks part of his helmet and you can see his one yellow eye and stuff, and oh god, like you can see it's still Anakin under there. That one scene captured what George Lucas tried all of Episode 3 to accomplish. Like, he was always saying, for the prequels, he wanted when you rewatch the original trilogy, he wanted you to see Darth Vader and be like, oh shit, Anakin's still in that suit. He's like trapped in there, and it didn't really live up to that, honestly. Like, it never got that feeling from the prequels. Watching the original trilogy, right. I never quite got that sense. But in that one scene, in this like one shot in Rebels, you like all of that comes together in a really perfect way.
It did, and I love that she was pleading with Anakin. He's like, "Shut up! Like that, he's dead. Who's that?" And then, like you said, that scene, she backflips, takes a piece of his mask, and sees the eye, and that was gorgeous. But that was that was everything come to form. You know what? Anakin is dead. This is Darth Vader, and he's gonna kill me. Like, there's something, we got to do something. Let me ask you: do you think it was a cop out the way it ended? As far as everything, you didn't really see a definitive ending to that fight.
No, I don't think it was, because after the episode kind of wrapped up. You see Darth Vader hobbling back to his ship. You see Kanan and Ezra going back to their ship. You can see a silhouette of Ahsoka in the temple. Like, so I think something happened to her. She survived.
Right, a lot of people were taking it that she was dead, and that might have been a Force ghost, or a lot of people were mad at the way that ended. They wanted something more final, something more definitive. I loved it though.
The thing is, this is still a kids show, so it can't be totally violent. You can't see Darth Vader cutting his former best friend in half with a lightsaber. You just can't do that on TV.
No, you can't. But what you can do though is have that up close and personal, little bit of Han Solo, Kylo Ren thing going. I mean, listen, Ahsoka has to die unless, for whatever crazy reason, she turns out to be Maz Kanata. Yeah, she's already orange in the face somewhat. So, but I don't think that's the case at all. That's just a silly notion on my part.
I think she'll be back for season 3, and I guess with them bringing over characters from from Clone Wars into Rogue One, that opens up the floodgate for them to bring in more characters into later other movies, like or even like she could be in the show that takes place after Return of the Jedi that they're developing. She could show up in episode 8 or 9. We don't know. I mean, I think it'd be really cool. I like Ahsoka enough as a character to where I don't want to see her go, and I feel like her big arc is complete. Like, she had the showdown with her master. They fought. We didn't see a definitive ending, but that was good enough for me. And I think there's still things they could do with the character to make her a relevant part of the Star Wars universe.
Right. No, I think she's definitely coming back. I think they actually confirmed that in Celebration, that she will be back, and not as a Force ghost. Ahsoka did not die, so she will be back. I think they even given her a novel, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't think she's getting out of Rebels. Mm-hmm. Whether this is, I don't know if season 3 will be the last season or season 4, but they have to wrap this up soon, because Rogue One starts and Rebels can't be coinciding with A New Hope, and Rogue One and A New Hope are pretty much the same month, or 2 months. The end of Rogue One has to start at the blockade runner. It makes the most sense. But Rebels can't keep going, and that brings us to Star Wars Celebration and the trailer for season 3, and something we've talked about before on this podcast. One of the greatest Imperials of all time making his canon debut, and that's Grand Admiral Thrawn. Oh, Sith. Okay, what? Dude, okay, I watched this trailer like 5 times now. I can't help it. I love this damn thing. What was did you see this coming?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
When you hear the voiceover kind of hyping up, like, okay, we need to get somebody to crush these rebels, and they're kind of slowly going in on the shot of Thrawn in that room. Like, I was like, who could it be? That sounds like Palpatine's voice, who's doing the VO, but maybe who could it be? And then you see it, like he comes in, and it's like, oh my god, it's fucking Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Oh god, like, and you get a really good sense of, in the trailer, of how the rebellion is really starting to come together, how they're becoming like a definitive organization, sort of, and like they're becoming like impactful. Like, you see how Rebels is actually affecting the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
It started off as kind of standalone little stories on a distant planet that no one ever heard of before, but now it's becoming, an actual thing. Like, what the Rebels are doing is actually is what's being the catalyst for the rest of the movies.
Right. Right, absolutely. And with the introduction of Grand Admiral Thrawn, now he's official canon in this universe, can pop up in a movie or two. I'm not
Hmm.
getting my hopes up too high. I have theories for that. Theories that I think, in my opinion, would be better than him popping up in a movie. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see Thrawn in a movie. Um, but it would be an older Thrawn. And I wouldn't mind that. But what I rather see, what I really want, I should say, is them to adapt Timothy Zahn's trilogy into the next animated series, because
Hmm.
all signs are pointing to the next animated series being post Return of the Jedi. And that is, for me, something I want to see so bad, because I always wanted to see the continuing adventures of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewie, and the droids. I want that. You know, what happens afterwards. That's why I read the books. That's why so many people were upset when those books became the legacy series and not canon anymore, because I mean there's some clunkers in there in that series, but that Timothy Zahn trilogy is worthy of a movie. Each one of those, that the way he
Hmm.
wrote legitly felt like watching a movie, a brand new trilogy. And it has not been replicated since. There's been no Star Wars book to come close, or a series of books that comes close to matching the cinematic views. Like when I read those books, I hear the music, I see it in on the big screen. Nothing comes close to that. And what I would love, now that they introduced Grand Admiral Thrawn in Rebels, is for them to have him not die here. I don't think that they should not do that. They should not. Thrawn is too important a character for fans for them to kill him off in a season or two of Rebels. What
Hmm.
that needs to happen is Thrawn comes in, starts handing the rebels their asses, does what he has to do, and then gets outsmarted eventually. And when that happens, Palpatine's like, nope, and banishes him to the Outer Rim. Which now, so many odd years later, after Return of the Jedi, there's a distress beacon. The rest of the Imperial fleet comes, and Thrawn is leading that fleet, and you can start that cartoon like that.
Hmm.
And I think that would be beautiful. And I'm not. Maybe you bring Mara Jade in. Who knows? I love Mara Jade personally. We don't know what's going on. Episode 8 will probably be out before any post Return of the Jedi cartoon.
Yes, definitely.
So when that happens, we'll know whether or not Luke Skywalker and Rey are related as father and daughter, which I don't
Hmm.
believe. We'll know more about Luke. Um, so that's tricky. But I would love, love, love to see them adapt Timothy Zahn's novels into animated form, and of course change things up here and there. Maybe what was his name? Talon Carday. I think that's how you say it. Or Talon Card, whatever. However you say his name. Maybe you take him out. Maybe you leave him in. I don't know. There's a million possibilities. But now that Thrawn is canon, that's where I want to see his demise. I want to see it post Return of the Jedi. I want to see Luke and gang take care of the business. And
Well, Timothy Zahn is coming out with a book just called On, I think. And I don't really. Do you know if there's been a plot synopsis released for that? I haven't seen one.
I honestly, I just saw the cover of the book. I saw Timothy Zahn's name. I saw brand new in canon. I was blown away. I love the cover. I love the art. I was in love. I did not do any more research. So whether or not there's a plot synopsis, I don't think there is, because I've been watching a couple of things like for instance, Jedi Council. They on Collider, they have one of their crew over at Celebration, and they were doing these special Jedi Councils where um, she was uh, uh, pretty much doing a podcast with the host Christian Harloff, and she was telling him what she saw. And I don't recall her saying like anything about a plot synopsis for the book, but what I think this might be is Thrawn's beginnings and his rise in ranks in the Empire, which I think that's the story I want to read. I want
Oh,
to.
I mean, that sounds really awesome to read too. But I was thinking it might be a retelling of um, the previous Timothy Zahn trilogy, like kind of an in canon shortened version of the three.
I think that might like feel like a cop out. That's why I would like that to happen in a post Return of the Jedi series, so we can get that fleshed out and see like this. Because honestly, I've always wanted to see that on screen, and with the animation style, it grows on you. From Clone Wars, Rebels look different from Clone Wars, but now it's grown on me so much that Rebels looks awesome. I can't wait to see what they would do with the heroes we've grown to love, being Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewie, Princess Leia, R2 and 3PO, and everybody else. Admiral Akbar needs to be in this. But so I don't think they would do that with the book. I honestly, for me personally, I would like to see his beginnings. I would like to see how he rose in rank to become a Grand Admiral. I want to know, are they going to keep in canon the idea that the Emperor was kind of racist to aliens? And like pretty much only humans,
Yeah, I think they should.
Yeah, because that's an interesting story point.
Yeah,
about Thrawn.
That kind of goes along, like, kind of hand in hand with the whole like Nazi fascist kind of parables with the Empire, and I remember reading about that as a kid, like how there was pretty much no alien species in the Empire, like besides humans, and like it was just pretty much only humans, and I always wanted to see more from that,
right?
Or go deeper in that, and I think that would be a really interesting story, because if I'm not mistaken, like Thrawn was the first or like only non-human in the Empire, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I read those books. Honestly, it's definitely over 10 years, but the fact is, when I did read those, I read those books like 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
I love them things.
Have you read? I think it's called Death Troopers.
Is that the zombie one?
Yeah.
I'm no lying. I kid you not. I started out with Red Harvest first, which was it was a prequel, but it came out after Death Troopers. It was supposedly telling us the beginning of the strain. I read that, and that took place in the Old Republic, and I really have no knowledge of the Old Republic, so all these names were just, I didn't know who was who, because
I don't know much about the Old Republic either. But,
yeah, and
but Death Troopers takes place like
present day. Well,
right before Episode 4.
Yeah, yes, and that was the thing, because I've gotten up to the point where they're on an Imperial prison barge, and then the zombie outbreak happens on this Imperial prison barge, and these two characters that were in prison, they're brothers. They go and they find there's a doctor there too, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and then they go and they find Han Solo and Chewbacca. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing here? What's going on? Totally not a canon story, and that's fine. I'm kind of glad. But I never finished the book. It's still, like, queued up on my Kindle, but I haven't picked up my Kindle since before Episode 7, to be perfectly honest. I was trying to finish it before Episode 7. Not because Episode 7 was coming out, but I never did. So... Yeah, it's a tricky book.
I haven't read Death Troopers either, but I have a friend who read it, and he said it was really, really good. And just the idea of zombies in the Star Wars universe is really cool to me.
And I thought the same thing, but as I'm reading it, I'm kind of, I can't lie, I'm rolling my eyes hard. It's a beautiful piece of fan fiction, and that's how I'm taking it. But it just... In context of everything else, this has to be like an alternate universe. Like, what were those Star Wars books called? Where like, what if Luke Skywalker never died? Not Luke Skywalker never died. What if Luke Skywalker did die, like in Hoth? So I think they were called Star Wars Infinity or something. That's what it feels like to me. It's like a what if book. It doesn't fit in canon at all, and
it's like an Elseworld story for DC.
Yeah.
It's just a cool offshoot that's fun to read about.
No, it is. It definitely is. But like I said, as I was reading it, I keep rolling my eyes. I don't know. But jumping off of that topic, keeping on Celebration, Rogue One, man. Rogue One, they tease us, and I mean us, the people who weren't fortunate enough to be in Star Wars Celebration. They told us we were going to get a 3-minute trailer, or that's what everybody was led to believe. What we got was a 3-minute sizzle reel. Behind the scenes, we got brand new looks at everything. We didn't get the same scenes from the first trailer, which was appreciated. We got a lot more focus and emphasis on war. I'm a war movie buff. I love war films. I love them, love them, love them. And to actually have the war in Star Wars, to see that, I cannot wait for it because it looks visceral. It looks nerve-wracking, downright scary. I mean, I'm not going to compare it to like one of my favorite war scenes of all time, which is Saving Private Ryan, the storm of Normandy Beach. But it has a flavor like that. Like, that was so visceral, and we know that happened. That was real. That's history. And to see that being shown the way Spielberg directed that, it was mind-blowing. Seeing them running on the beach while the explosions are going off all around them, shooting at stormtroopers in the trenches, it's like, whoa, this is Star Wars, but it's like a heavy war movie. So I really love that featurette. Granted, we didn't get a trailer. Granted, we didn't get Vader, which is supposed to... Well, we all know it's not a secret. Vader's in this movie. But we didn't get him in this little featurette. They did save him for the trailer. They showed the people at Celebration. But they kind of schemed on that too. But before we get into that, I want to know your thoughts on that 3-minute sizzle reel.
Dude, you summed it up perfectly. I was waiting all Friday for that trailer. That was the only thing getting me through the day. And no trailer, but just a couple cool little looks and images, and the idea of like a heavy kind of war movie setting sounds like this is going to be a dark movie. You know, that's definitely what they're going for, is kind of dark and heavy, and it seems like it's going to have, it's kind of like classic, I guess, classic Star Wars trope of having a character to kind of like alleviate the pressure and comic relief and all that, but we haven't really gotten much of any of that through anything that we've seen thus far. It all seems very heavy and very dark and like a traditional war movie that's just set in space, and that's something awesome, you know.
It really is.
The thing that stuck with me the most, I think, was the image of the Death Troopers storming the beach.
Yeah.
God, those things are so cool, and I do think that they're probably Vader's like personal guard or something like that, or like an elite squad, maybe like a new version of Vader's fist from Battlefront 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's sort of like his own little kind of, you know, for those who don't know, you know, the 501st Legion in Battlefront 2, they were a big battalion of clones, and then when the Empire took over, the handful that remained became like Vader's personal little sort of bodyguard or miniature army, and they became Vader's fist, kind of just doing odd missions and stuff like that, and they're fucking badass. And that's what it looks like these guys are. Because if you look, they have their, I guess for lack of a better word or term, is their belt buckle is the exact same as Darth Vader's.
Good call. I did see that. You pointed that out, and I looked at it, and it's definitely that, which is crazy. Which makes the idea of the Death Troopers being Vader's personal guard not far-fetched, especially considering, you know, we never see them again. And this movie takes place, you know, before A New Hope and everything else. So if we never seen them again, and when these images first surfaced with them, people were like, well, maybe, you know, there's a billion different planets the Empire rules over. Maybe they're stationed over there. And I get that. But if this was Vader's fist and this was only like just this group and they get taken out in this movie, then yeah, they're not going to show up in anything else. And I like that. So if that's the case, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm that's pretty much what I'm expecting to happen. I like a lot of other people were. I was pretty hesitant on a lot of new Stormtrooper designs and stuff that they put out. Like one of my biggest complaints is like it does take place before Episode 4, so I mean if we never see these things again, that's a little bit kind of sketchy, I guess. My one of my biggest complaints about the prequels is like they take place 20 to 30 to 35 years before the original trilogy, and like they have more advanced technology than they do in the original trilogy, and that's always a little bit weird. So I'm really hoping that they kind of learn from their mistakes. Like, hey, people notice that shit. Just because you have the technology to actually put this stuff on screen now doesn't mean you should if you're making a story about the past.
Well, here, real quick, let me jump you on that point real quick, because I like what you said there, but on the flip side, I think more along the lines where before the Empire, it was pretty much open. Everybody was getting along. There was peace in the galaxy, per se. So the technology was there. There wasn't any kind of a galactic struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Separatists came, and they were just a plot device by Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
So how I feel is after Palpatine came in power and became the Emperor, and then formed the Empire. Within the span between Return of the Sith and A New Hope, he pretty much put his foot down, and now everybody's poor. Because think about it, we are on poorer planets, and it's the rebellion. They're fighting with scraps.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Alderaan still had that, exotic technology. We will never know because Alderaan is nothing but a pile of asteroids now.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it was the Empire kind of like squashing all of that. Like no, we'll have we'll have the top-notch technology. We have a Death Star, things to that nature. Where the rebels, they were like scavengers almost. Even you see that in the show. You see that in Rebels. I mean, they go and they do these runs. They got to pick up these crazy supplies. And there was an episode in season 2 with oh my goodness, Hera, where she piloted the B-wing. She was like the first one to actually nail flying the B-wing, and I thought that was cool. Even though we don't see the B-wing until Return of the Jedi, I thought that was still pretty freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As far as yeah, go ahead.
On my own flip side of your flip side, is that I think it might be just a justification for George Lucas getting a little bit drunk on power, or having a little bit too much money at his disposal while making the original or prequel trilogy.
I hear you on that. I totally get you on that. I want to talk about the what you brought up also with the Stormtroopers. And there being so many different types, and it's worrisome. I agree to an extent because Empire Strikes Back was the first time we saw snowtroopers. Return of the Jedi is the first time we saw scout troopers.
Mm-hmm.
So having those different type of elements, those different trooper groups, it works for this too, because of the environment. Hoth, obviously, you're not going to have your average stormtrooper running around in there, so they're decked out in gear. There's stormtroopers on Endor and there's scout troopers on Endor, so that was a nice little difference, right? And so with whatever we can, I think, what are they, tank troopers, right? These guys on the tank.
So
they kind of have like a clone armor almost. So
bit, yeah.
I kind of like that too. That's another thing I like. It's bridging the gap. Here's one thing I don't want Lucasfilm to do. I don't want them, as much flack as they get, I don't want them to disregard the prequels. I really don't. They're canon. It happened. We have to get over it. Whether we love them or not, it happened. It was a dark time, but it happened. I don't want them to disregard it though. I would like to see themes from the not the Clone Wars, from the prequels play in. That's what I loved about Rebels when we got like the droids, and we're gonna get the droids again in season 3. We saw that in the trailer. I love that. I because yes, the droids shut down, but there was still this vast droid army. It wasn't just what was destroyed on Geonosis and at the end of Revenge of the Sith. No, they're still out there. So I would love to see those things come online. I remember there was a Star Wars video game, Rogue Squadron 3, where you crash on Geonosis and boom, all of a sudden the droid army is there, and they come back and you have to fight through a droid army instead of stormtroopers. I thought that was genius. The game sucked, but I had fun with that. I like those ideas. Don't forget that. Play to whatever the strengths were there. Play to that and bring that full circle. But that's just me. Ted,
do we know what planet the battle is taking place on? That we're seeing so many images of?
For Rogue One?
Yeah.
We do. And unfortunately, I just literally saw the name and I can't read this. I think it starts with an S. I'm probably not you know what? I've got the internet right at my fingertips. I can check right now. So yes, the name is definitely, it's been told because it's going to be, and this is actually a perfect segue into the next topic. It's going to be the final DLC for Star Wars Battlefront, the video game. So let me type this in.
For a while, I was thinking that it was possibly, like, since we got the new poster of the battle on the beachfront and then the Death Star looming in the background, I thought, oh, maybe it might be like Alderaan or something like that if it takes place so close in proximity to A New Hope. Maybe it's Alderaan, and there was like actually a battle on the ground going on, but
well, I'll tell you this. From every Star Wars things that I watch outside of like the celebration, like people like us, just diehard fans doing their thing on YouTube, a lot of people want Alderaan to be there, and it makes sense for Alderaan to be in this movie. It really does. I would love to see Alderaan in this movie, because then it'll tie in. When Alderaan gets blown up, we never seen that planet. We just met Princess Leia. Who is this chick? Why do we feel bad? So what? Her planet got blown up. No. We know who Jimmy Smith was. And again, another tie-in. That's what I want to see, more tie-ins. Jimmy Smith was, Bail Organa, King, ruler of Alderaan. Was he on Alderaan when it blew up? Who knows? Everybody thinks he was. He might not be. But to answer your question, the planet that they show in Rogue One, I have it right here, does start with an S, so I was right. It's called Scarif.
Okay.
That is the planet, and it's going to be, I believe, the final DLC for Battlefront, which I cannot wait for because I was one of the Looney Tunes that went out and spent almost $200 on the game because I got the season pass and the super edition. I love Star Wars. There's something they're doing coming out on the 20th, okay, that I cannot wait for. It's called Skirmish. And it is a single player, I wouldn't say campaign, because it's not really story driven, but they're giving you a chance to play Walker Assault and my personal favorite, wow, see, it's my personal favorite and I forgot, but the when you get into the X-Wings or the TIE Fighter and you fly and you shoot shit down. And I can't for the life of me, I'm going to shoot myself later for this, but...
Dogfight?
Yeah, it's like dogfighting, but I forgot what they call it in the game. But I cannot wait for that. And you know what? I'm going to find that right now. Because again, internet's right at my disposal. But that was something that bothered me when... I knew that the game was going to be... Here we go. I knew the game was going to be multiplayer and multiplayer only. I love Star Wars, and I loved what I saw from this thing in all the trailers and, while this was coming out. So I was very, very, very excited because it's like the best looking Star Wars game, and it is. I suck at multiplayer games, though. So I was disappointed. And yes, I played I bought the whole damn thing, so it's, it was expensive. And some people laugh at me for that, and that's fine. I don't care. But fighter Squadron. Of course. That's it. Fighter Squadron. It makes sense. So Walker Assault and Fighter Squadron, they'll both be skirmishes, and that means you can play by yourself against bots. And what they're doing is they're ramping up the AI. And I like that. They're making it more difficult. So it's like playing against other players. You'll never get 100% what it is to play against someone else, especially someone who's really good at the damn game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, but I am nice in Fighter Squadron. I'll tell you that much, man. Sometimes I just sit down and I go for broke. But then there's other people that, I could get 25 to 30 kills, but then there's somebody with 45 to 50. I'm like, damn, son, what the fuck? It drives me crazy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I believe it's going to be open on pretty much all the map packs. I'm happy for that. I'm looking forward to that because, again, I love this game, but I get frustrated when you can't get a kill. It's just like that's not. Yeah, I want to have fun and enjoy playing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't play multiplayer, like I don't go on Call of Duty into multiplayer and play that stuff. I stay away from it because these kids are nice. I like to play the game story and just have a good time blowing stuff up. So Skirmish is coming out. That's going to be fun. The next DLC they showed was the Death Star. I cannot wait. That's coming out in September. I can't wait for that. I'm having fun on Bespin as it is now. So, but yeah, so Skirmish is coming out. You can play co-op or you can play like PvP, which would be great. Like if my brother bought the game, me and him could go at it just head to head instead of, 40 other people just shooting me up. I'm just hunting my brother down. That'd be fun, He probably still whip my ass, but still, I don't care. But yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much, everything they talked about Star Wars. I didn't get to see the Episode 8 panel. That happened today. I was hoping for, and it's over now. I was hoping for a title. I was hoping they were going to give us a title for Episode 8. They showed some, from what I saw, they showed some background stuff, behind the scenes stuff, nothing major. They had John Boyega on stage, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Rian Johnson, of course, because he directed it. There was something I did like, though. I'll say this, that I thought was cool. So when Gareth Edwards was filming Rogue One, he had Rian Johnson in the movie as, I don't know if it was a stormtrooper or something, but Rian Johnson's in the movie. And Rian Johnson, for guys who don't know, is going to be the director of Episode 8. Rian Johnson then in turn put Gareth Edwards in Episode 8. So I thought that was cool. They had Lord and Miller, who's doing the Han Solo movie. They were, I think, almost in it, if I'm not mistaken. So it's still little things like that. I think that's pretty fun. It's a cool little thing that they're having all the directors come in and be in each other's movie. And I think it's fun. Star Wars has always been about fun, and it ramps the fun factor up. For me, we're not going to see who they are. Like, we didn't know James Bond was the Stormtrooper. And, while Ray was...
Or I still can't hear Kevin Smith's voice as one of the Stormtroopers.
Wait, I didn't even know Kevin Smith was supposedly in Episode 7.
Well, he voiced the Stormtrooper.
Well, he does a good job.
I just have no idea who.
It's things like that I like. And George Lucas created this universe, and I give him nothing but the utmost respect. But this probably wouldn't have happened under his regime. And the fact that now that Disney owns it, and they're letting Lucasfilm do what Lucasfilm does. That's what I love about Disney. They don't really interfere with Marvel. They don't interfere with Lucasfilm because they know the cash cows they have in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that when you can have fun on set and interact with your other directors and things to that nature, it just makes it more fun to be there. It makes a better product, in my opinion. We don't know. Rogue One could turn out to be trash. We don't know. I don't think it is. I like Gareth Edwards.
All things are kind of pointing to that it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and that's one more thing I want to point out before we sign off with, because we haven't been on this podcast in a long time. There was the rumors about the reshoots and that this movie was in trouble because of all these reshoots. Movies get reshot all the time. They do that thing. But it's because
I think the percentage of reshoots, like I read something somewhere they're like, oh yeah, they're reshooting like 85% of the movie. I think that's horribly overblown.
I think so too.
As you were saying, reshoots happen all the time. They happen on every single major movie. They happen on basically any movie that has the budget for it will go back in and reshoot stuff. Either something didn't work correctly as when they planned it out during editing, or they needed to get some new shots of something. It's not a big deal. People, but these these sites that are trying to generate views and clicks and stuff like that, like Comic Book Resources or Cinema Blend or all these supposedly nerdy kind of journalist sites, they try to make a big deal out of it, and that gets more people worried than it does hyped. Like, people don't understand, like, this shit happens, it's not a big deal.
Exactly. And that's pretty much where I wanted to go with that. Thank you. It's reshoots, and I think the bigger the movie, the more it gets blown out of proportion. Oh my God, Star Wars is doing reshoots. Something must be wrong. Gareth Edwards, what has he done? Oh, he did Godzilla. Look, Godzilla was a success. Whether you loved it or hated it, it made its money back. It made more money. It was a success. Toho took notice and was like, "Holy, let's pump out a Godzilla movie right away." I'm just saying. So this dude is now on Star Wars. This is his second big blockbuster movie. He came from Monsters, and that was it. He did Godzilla. He resurrected Godzilla, and now he's doing. In all honesty, he's tackling probably the second hardest Star Wars movie to tackle. Because I believe Episode 7 had to be the hardest Star Wars movie to make. But he's tackling a very hard Star Wars movie because it is where it's at. It's right in front of A New Hope. It's the lead up to it. And we all know what A New Hope is, so you have to do something.
I think it might even be the hardest because not everybody knows that it's part of the universe, but it's not part of the overall story. It's not the new Episode 8. It's not kind of pushing things forward. Well, it is, but it's not a continuation. It's a story set in the universe. Not everybody seems to remember when the trailer dropped, thousands of people were like, "What? Where's Rey? Where's Finn?" They didn't know, and people still don't totally know. And it's the first Star Wars movie that doesn't have any of the people we know and love besides Darth Vader. And I think that's got to be the biggest risk for this movie, that it's something radically different.
Yeah, well, speaking of Darth Vader, before we go, let's break down this trailer. I don't know did you hear about the breakdown? I heard about the breakdown. Did you?
I did not.
Okay, so the trailer that was shown in a celebration for the Rogue One panel was about, I believe she said, a minute long, give or take. And it was not pretty much they saw certain things from the first trailer, but not a lot. She said it starts off with a young girl running through a grassy field, and then it cuts to Jyn. Is it Jyn Erso? Right, I believe that's her name.
I think so.
Felicity Jones' character. So they were saying that maybe that was her when she was younger, and then they're now action shots. But the coup de grace was at the very end of the trailer, where Vader comes. I believe you hear the breathing, and then instead of seeing Vader, you see his reflection on the floor. And I'm like, is that a cop-out? I don't know. I don't think it's a cop-out. It's Vader. You know what his silhouette looks like. And she was like, it's, you can tell who it is. You know who it is. It's there. You see the reflection. But, the people went crazy regardless. I don't know when that trailer is going to drop. It needs to drop soon, considering we're in July and this movie comes out in December. And maybe that's people might be like, "Damn, G1, all you do is want trailer." Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
You
need
that. Love them here.
You need that Shin Godzilla trailer, especially 2 weeks before the movie comes out. I'm just saying. But we do have time for this. We can wait a bit. I would say All right, well, Comic-Con is next week, and they're going to be at Comic-Con. I would say maybe they're going to play the trailer at Comic-Con and maybe open up that trailer with Suicide Squad. Now, that would make... No, I could see that. I could see it opening with Suicide Squad, even though it's a Warner Brothers movie, a DC movie, and Star Wars is owned by Disney, which also...
Well, I mean, I saw a Civil War trailer open for Batman v Superman.
That's true, too, yeah. So I would totally buy... Oh, yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, Batman v Superman also had the Rogue One trailer when I saw that. So, yeah, it makes sense. If Suicide Squad, it's the next big thing. So, hopefully Comic-Con, that trailer will leak or get out there for everybody else to see it. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
What I'm hoping for is, like, if it was only about a minute long or so, I mean, they wouldn't release a teaser trailer as the second trailer. You know, that just doesn't make sense for them to do. A teaser trailer comes, like, before the very first official trailer, or is one of the TV spots. You know, you don't do a minute-long teaser as the second trailer. So I'm thinking they might do what Fox did with Deadpool, is they'll show the trailer to the people at Star Wars Celebration, and then they'll add stuff in for when it gets to general release. Because Comic-Con, you know, when Deadpool got released, all the stuff from the trailer with Colossus was cut out.
Right.
You know, and they added that stuff with Colossus in for when they release it with the for general audiences.
Right, gotcha.
So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So we might get, you know, an extra minute and a half of stuff to 2 minutes of footage with this next trailer. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
Well, here's hoping to that. I hope also at Comic-Con, if it's not released as we're doing this podcast, because I don't know, I hope we get Episode 8's title. I don't know how long you will wait for that. I would like to see what it is. You know, I'm greedy now. I'm getting greedy. It's Star Wars, and it's back. Look, we got Godzilla coming out. There was a Batman movie that came out this year. There's going to be another Batman. Oh, Batman's in the movie, in Suicide Squad. And Star Wars, it's like the trifecta for me. You know, all I need is, you know, a return to form for Transformers, and I forget it. I'd be golden. But, yeah, we pretty much covered everything. That is a nice return to the Star Wars podcast here on the G Show.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to thank you, G95, for once again joining me.
Of course.
And I want to thank all you ladies and gentlemen for listening to this. And don't forget, man, if you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to get back to form. We're going to get back to form. There was a couple of bumps in the road. The Godzilla thing, I would not let die. That's why it's every week. But we will go back to form with Star Wars, as well as the other podcasts we've been known to do now that I am settled in the new G Show studios. So, that being all said, I am G1. This is the G Show's Force Awakenings podcast, and may the Force be with you.